You were in Boston, now you're in Houston. Why did you make the move?
Oh man, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. You know, it was a very difficult decision because I really liked what we were doing in Boston. I liked our team. I loved the people, the organization. Was treated really well there, and was happy there. Family was happy there. And then this opportunity came up, and you know, I've known Ime for so long, and you know, when you start to look at the roster and the team and the direction that they're going and what they're trying to build, it was like, you know, we could really do something. And when the more we talked about it, the more interesting and enticing it became. And so, you know, there's a lot of factors that go into a decision like that, but at the end of the day, I mean, this is just where I wanted to be.
You get this job and you immediately hit the ground running as summer league coach. Now, I know you did it in Boston too, but what was that experience like serving as the head honcho at summer league?
Well, doing it a second time, the job itself was easier because you kind of understood like what the territory was, how to organize, what you were looking to do, the time frame that you're looking to do it in. But the operations of it in terms of where I was, moving my family, trying to find a house, you know, all the stuff, it was just like a whirlwind. So there was a lot going on at that point in time. And then, but it was exciting too, because like you got to meet all the new players and the staff and, you know, get organized and all get together and figure out what we wanted to do. And we ended up having a nice little time in summer league, so that was really fun.
Good. One of your biggest assignments, I know, number 4 overall pick, Amin Thompson, specifically that jump shot. When you first met Amin, what was your first impression of him?
First of all, he's a great kid, very smart, works really hard. It kind of struck me just, you get this sense that like he really wants it, you know, like whenever you're around him. And I love that about him. And you know, when you take that type of person that wants to work hard, that wants to be better, that really wants to get after it, you know, that's a great place to start.
Love that. Amin has talked constantly when he's asked about how much you have helped him. How have you seen him develop throughout his rookie year? I know he had some illness, some injury, but how have you seen him really come into his own?
Yeah, it was just, you know, and talking with him and working with him, and the other coaches work with him too. We were all working with him as a staff, and like, you know, just trying to get him to understand this is his rookie year. There's a lot to learn, not just about like how to shoot a basketball. I mean, you got to know like how to organize your day and what we're trying to do on offense, on defense, what his teammates are trying to do. And so there's a lot going on. And so, you know, just getting him to understand, yeah, he had a little rough patch, but all that stuff was out of his control. And the season is long, and there are a lot of games. And then, you know, just kind of get that mindset of like, all right, let's not worry about the end. Let's not worry about what happened before. Let's just tackle each day. Let's get better today in this moment. Step on the court and work. Then when you're done, go in the weight room and work. Make sure you eat right. Make sure you're recovering. And like just learning and helping him together, you know, which is really how to become a true professional.
You've become known around the league as a shooting specialist. I know you worked with Chip England, which influenced that. How did that passion specifically for shooting come to be?
Well, I mean, it probably started because I like to shoot when I play basketball at my little low-level stuff or whatever. And, you know, it was really just luck that I ended up in San Antonio and paired with Chip. And, like, he's the genius, the shooting guru, and I was just lucky enough to be around him, and I had a passion for it. And so I can't really repay him for how much he taught me how to teach, and kind of struck up that relationship, and everything that he taught and was doing and was around, I was just making sure that I paid attention to everything because, you know, he really is the best at what he does.
Where do you start when you get a guy, you know, I've read and heard you talk about the biometrics and how every player is different. Where do you start with a player with shooting?
It starts with a relationship first. Like, we got to get to know each other first. I got to get to know what kind of person you are, what kind of worker you are, what are you looking to do. I mean, I can't just walk up to a player and be like, hey, we're going to work on your jump shot. And it's like, he's like, I don't even want to do that, you know? So first it starts with a conversation, a relationship, and trying to get on the same page of like, what are our goals here? What are we trying to do? What do you want to do? You know, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. I would say the relationship is step one.
You have worked for and with Greg Popovich, Mike Budenholzer, Chip England. You've been surrounded by greatness. How has that helped mold your mentality as a coach?
Oh, that's one of the things that I just feel so lucky about, like all the good coaches that I've been able to be around and just learn from and watch and observe, and you know, they're all so good and all so unique in their own way. I don't know how it happened that I was able to do that. Like, I couldn't have constructed it that way, but I'm just really glad that it did, because they all have different talents and specialties and things that they do really, really well, and some of them they do the same things differently, and both of them are really good.
Right.
And so being able to observe that and witness that and then be like, I like what that guy does, I like this, I like that, and kind of pick and choose. I've just been really lucky.
Last but not least, we're in the last month and a half or so of the season. Other than getting as many wins as possible, what is your goal for this young Rockets team?
The two things that I always look for is I want you to play as hard as you can and play as together as you can. And as long as we're doing things within that framework, that's really all I care about. Mistakes happen, we'll grow, we'll learn, we'll get better from those. But if you're being unselfish, you're playing together, and you're playing as hard as you can, that's all I'm looking for.
Been a really exciting year. The best is yet to come, I'm sure. Thank you for your time, Ben.
Yeah, no problem.
I want to talk about more so the beginning of your journey. You're a Portland native. How did that passion for basketball in general begin?
I was actually talking to somebody about that the other day. I'm like, I don't remember when exactly it started, because I was baseball first, but then at some point, I think I just kept growing, and basketball became a thing. I remember being a kid, and I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and it was rainy all the time, and I was like, you can play basketball all the time because it's inside. And then I kept growing, and when I was, I think, 7 or 8, so I was born in '84, Michael Jordan was winning his titles in 90, 91, 92. So I'm a kid watching, Michael Jordan play on Sundays in the morning, and I can remember it was a commercial break, and I'd run outside, shoot some hoops real quick, and then run in back inside to try and watch him play the Jazz or whatever. So I don't know the big win exactly. I would say probably around 8 or 9, but it just kind of grew hand in hand to where I loved it, and it became a thing. I got taller and better at it, and eventually it just became a thing I was very passionate about, and I've been very blessed that it's taken me all over the world and to where I am today, just that relationship with the game.
How'd you meet Coach Udoka?
Just in the Portland hoop scene. So we trained with some of the same trainers, we played in some of the same places, and the Portland hoops community is very small and unique in that it kind of migrates around the city where the open runs are. And so it'll be okay at Tuesday nights at Portland State at 7:30, or it might be at Concordia or wherever, and you just end up seeing the same people all throughout the summer, just playing and playing and playing. And I just remember he would come back, he was playing professionally, he'd come back in the summer and just beat up on all of us. And that's where it started, just playing pickup. You
played in college, you played a little bit overseas. When did you get that itch to coach?
Yeah, that's a question that I've answered more recently in the last few years. And I'll say the same thing I always say, which is I never wanted to coach.
Really?
Yeah, growing up, I had no interest in coaching.
Wow.
Partially because I butted heads with a lot of coaches. So yeah, yeah, I wasn't the most. I wasn't easily coached, probably is the best way to say it. But partially stemmed from I was a player who wanted to play on the outside. I wanted to shoot threes and pick and pop and a lot of stuff that's common in the game today. But that wasn't common when I was a player. And so the coaches that were coaching me when I was a young kid were like, you need to go inside. And I was like, I don't want to do that all the time. I'll do that some, but can I shoot some? And that's where kind of some of the friction came. And now I watch all these players that play, they pick, pop, shoot, the court spread open. That's how I like to play, but it was just a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe I was ahead of my time. I don't know.
In some ways, it sounds like you definitely were.
I wasn't even good enough anyways to make a difference. But in terms of the coaching bug, it never happened when I was playing. And then when I was done, I had a regular job, and I was just working a regular job. This is around 08. Remember the recession in 08? Yeah. And so I had my degree. I was done playing overseas. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I just found any job I could get to make money. And I think I was selling cell phones at the time.
The flip phones?
Yeah, flip, whatever you got. Rollover minute, package plans, all that stuff.
The razors.
And yeah, definitely razor. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was like, hey, why don't you try coaching? And I was like, I don't know. I never really liked coaching. I didn't want to deal with it and all that kind of stuff. And so, long story short, I ended up coaching a 6th grade boys team in Lake Oswego where I finished high school. And I remember driving up. It was late at night. It's dark. It's rainy. I have a bag of balls and some cones. I have no idea what I'm going to do with these kids. And I get in there, and I just remember being like, all right, I need to see what they can do. So let's do layups and catching, passing, just simple stuff. And before I knew it, the whole thing flew by. An hour flew by, and I didn't even know that any time had passed. And the parents show up and get all the kids, and I remember calling Bailey at the time and I was like, I know what I want to do. I want to be a coach. And it was one of those things, I always describe it like, have you ever been fishing before and you catch a fish and release and you drop it in the water, it just takes off swim. It was like one of the most natural things in the world. That's how it felt for me. It was just one of the most natural feelings for me to coach. And then from that point on, it's been like a slow, steady march.
Shout out to the wifey.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bailey. That's
For sure.
awesome. My research tells me you coach 6th graders, you coached at a JUCO, and you've won 2 championships with the Spurs in the video room as well as the Bucks. That's a lot. You haven't been handed anything. You've had to work for everything that you've had. How has that molded your mentality and your philosophy?
That's a good question. I think my mentality has been from the very beginning is like, be a star at the job that you have. If you think too much about what the person on your left or your right is doing, or something that you're trying to get in the future, like, oh, that's the job I want. I'm not worried about this job. I want that one or this one. I'm not looking at what Kyle's doing or what Tommy's doing over here or something over there. I'm like, I have this job. I need to do really well at this job. And the more successful I am at that, good things will come. I have no idea what they'll be. And that's kind of been my mentality from the start.
This staff at the Rockets seems very together, very in sync, very relationship based. How do you think the players have taken to that, especially the younger ones?
We probably have just been starting to realize, like, hey, we're all in this together. And there's more of a, like, you know, arm in arm, let's figure it out, let's work through this, what do you see, this is what I see, kind of mentality of like, you know, we're not just telling you, hey, you need to do this. There's some of that in coaching, but it's more of that togetherness, like, this is what we want, what do you want, all those kinds of questions where it's like, how good do you want to be, how hard do you want us to push you, those types of things. And, you know, they've been really receptive. The guys all really want to improve. They really care about their careers, both individually and the team goals of improving, getting better, stacking wins, building habits, all those things. And I've just been really happy. I really enjoyed this year, just getting to know the staff, the players, the team. It's been kind of building that sort of chemistry between all of us. And I think you can see it. Sometimes it wavers a little bit on the court, but there's been, I think, a steady progression of just like what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build.